Now that all the parts that needed staining with rattling grime of Vulpus Pink have been done, I'm going to come back in with some, to start with, we're going to do the bronze. Purely because of the way the arm is organised, it's probably easier to do the bronze first and then correct any mistakes we get onto the silver parts. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to tackle the shoulder pads. Taking the Castallax bronze that we had as a base colour, and again, same as I've done previously, I'm just going to pull from the centre of the plate to the edge using the small Games Workshop dry brush. I don't know if they make these ones still. It's probably my smallest dry brush. I'm just going to go around whole shoulder pad the same way. As these are fairly thin dry layers, I'll do the back at the same time, just keeping the brush slightly moist just so that I get some pigment transfer, but I'm not worried about it being complete. It seems to work that the rougher the effect that you get, the more it actually looks like aged brass or bronze. So it just doesn't have to be perfect. Less perfect the better. That's that one. Get a little bit more paint out. So just keeping the brush moist, not worrying about it being brushed off too well. Effectively, all we're trying to do is re-establish the base colour, but leaving some areas in shadow, but not bring it necessarily all the way back up. Leave it a little bit patchy, it helps with the next couple of stages. At this stage you can't really avoid getting it on the silver if you don't want to get it on the green, so I don't got to worry about it. We correct that in the next bit when we come back to the other metals. Just check the edges and the side. I didn't do that on the last bit, but we'll come back and do that in a minute. Come back. That'll do. Then move it on to the other segments. I'll do his thighs whilst they're still pinned in place. And this is just going to be a case of trying to pick out that edge without getting it onto the bone if I can help it. Might have to use the side of the brush. Again, I'm not going to worry about getting it onto the steel parts, purely because we will be coming back in on those in a minute. So that one. Really see that. So yeah, we will end up getting it onto the steel, but we can correct that. And what we'll do is we'll do all of the bronze up first, and then we'll come back and do the steel. So yeah, next it's just this trim on the edge. Got a little bit of winning correct, but it's not too bad. There's a possibility this may not even be seen, but never mind. So that's that shoulder. So we've got shoulder pads, thighs, we've just got the calves to go really, and then I've got to put rattling grime on the torso. And that'll end up being a step or two behind. So again, same process, from the middle of the panel to the edge. There's a little bit of white that I could see there that I've got through. So again, towards the bottom, get the thigh out of the way. Just a quick play with the undersides. make sure that it's fairly uniform in its transition, not stark. You quite often get the contrast paint settled towards the bottom, so sometimes you have to put a little bit extra effort in some places. So that's that leg. Where's the other one? Running behind it. That's less comfortable. That's going to move. Alright, okay. Have to get a different purchase on it. Try and not stab myself with a pin. So apart from the torso, which I've now got to do, all the rest I've had the Castallax bonds returned, and this is a bit I must have missed earlier. I did the gimbals on the end of the joints, but I didn't actually do the armour plate. So I'll try and make it so you can see what I'm doing and I can see what I'm doing and you can. I'm just trying to run a little bit of this along the edge of the plate. And I've got some correction that I'm going to need to do there anyway. And we can dirty it down a little bit as well still. Same to the other side. Quite tricky. That's a bit of fatter line than I wanted, but hey ho. We're there. We got there in the end. Right, I've got to leave him to dry. The rest of them I can now take on to the next stage and come back in with Nihilakh oxide, just in some spots, not everywhere, just here and there, particularly on the shoulder pads in particular. It's going to get a little bit more. And what I am going to do first, I did this the other day, I'll take quite a bit of Lahmian medium, and then take my Nihilakh oxide to it. Apologies folks, I've got a cold on the way. hear a bit of phlegm in my voice. So I've now watered this down with the Lahmian medium, and I'm not going to be too sparse with it. I'm literally going to run this along the seams with as much of this armour as I can. Hit the bolts, it will fade out, especially mixed down to this consistency, but it will highlight any of the dinks in the armour. So that's that side done. I'll hold it with my nail. And literally just where things like the rivets are, the bolts on the flat side, don't need it everywhere, just a little bit here and there. I'm going to leave that to dry. Same on the other one. And this goes lovely underneath the skull crusher brass that we're going to put over the top. Just brings it all together. Dropped it. Just do the same on the back. Have that one filled. And that will suffice for that. And then it's the same process going around all the other panels. So I'll show you quickly what I'm going to do here. Just going to try and run it into that inner channel. I'm not doing anything else with it. There's a groove in the armour. If I can leave some of it in the deeper parts, that'd be perfect. Don't want the line going all the way around, but where the armour breaks, it certainly would be nice to have some of this material resting there. So again, it doesn't need to be any more than that. So I'll carry on doing that. The only other bit I'll show you quickly is on the arms. I said I was going to leave those nubbins for the moment. This is where I will come in. I will literally just flood these with it. That's a little bit too much flooding. And now that we've got it in there, I'll just allow the brush to pull the rest of the paint round. So they've all got a little bit of this in there. And again, with this, I'm just going to run it into the edges. Not all the way, just in a few places, maybe particularly where we've got a few corrections that needed. Into the corners more particularly. Getting it to stay on the flat surface would be nice, but so that's that arm. So I'm going to do this to all the rest of them. I should be back in a bit.